Hey legends, in this episode we talk about one of my favorite topics, consistency. So consistency is also broken down into persistence, and we talk into the book Think and Grow Rich in this one heavily. It is also discipline, dedication, and your ability to create willpower. So jump in. This one's an amazing episode. It's one of the most important ones, and it's also a two-parter. So the second one will be coming out early next week, and then you will get a very deep dive into consistency, persistence, discipline, and willpower with this. Thanks for being here, man. Much love and enjoy. Welcome to the Rise Movement Podcast, a place where men just like you learn to raise your standards everywhere. So sit back, grab a pen and a pad, and let's get to work. Welcome to another episode of the Rise Movement Podcast. I'm Dave Karastesi. Today we're diving into consistency. Consistency can also be known as persistence and discipline. We're going to be going heavily into this book here and reading a few excerpts and talking about these things because this book here, for those that are listening to audio only, it's Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill about 100 years ago. The philosophies still stand true to this day. This book has been an absolute cornerstone in my life philosophy, in my personal development, in my raising of standards in my own life, and becoming a man of high value and high standards. Everything in my desire, my faith, talking to myself through autosuggestion, all the principles I live my life by really came from this book. I have studied this book for years now, for easily over the last 6 years. I really went hard in depth into it in 2021, and there's going to be a couple of upcoming videos that I'm going to be focused solely on each chapter and going into in depth, because this book is honestly one of the greatest things that you can ever get your damn hands on and study, highlight, read in the margins, reread over and over, apply the practical application steps from inside of it, and just master every single step. So yes, the title of the book is called Think and Grow Rich, but that really limits it to one aspect in terms of finances. The philosophy behind Think and Grow Rich is to grow in all areas of your life, not just finances. This is in your relationships, this is in your health, your wealth, your personal development, psychological development, your relationships, your business, everything. This encompasses everything. So I want you to pay attention, because discipline, persistence, and consistency can also come down to willpower. And now the thing with willpower is it's like a muscle. If you don't train a muscle, it doesn't grow, it doesn't get stronger, it doesn't get faster, it doesn't get better. So for all of you guys out there that have no discipline, consistency, and persistence whatsoever, you haven't trained your discipline muscle. You haven't trained your willpower enough. That muscle is sitting dormant and it is not up to scratch because your results are clearly not where they want to be. Okay? What we're going to do today is I'm going to teach you from the book how to build persistence, how to build discipline, how to create the willpower inside of you and start training that muscle every single moment of every single day. Because as I've said in a couple of my shorts videos talking about Jocko Willink, he has an amazing book and an amazing quote. Discipline equals freedom. The more discipline you can create in your life, the more choice you have available. And what that means is the more choice you have available by restricting yourself into discipline, into persistence and consistency, allows you the freedom of expression to choose what you want to do. I am extremely disciplined with my nutrition, my sleep habits, my training, the way that I am with my kids, the way that I treat my partner, the way that I consider her needs and what she wants and what she needs from me and how she needs me to show up. I consider myself extremely disciplined, consistent, and persistent because I'm not motivated. That's the other side of this coin. Everyone is a motivational speaker these days. Everyone puts up motivational quotes, or whether it's Stoic quotes from Seneca or Epictetus or whatever his name is, and Marcus Aurelius. They put up all these quotes and they say, yeah, I'm motivational, like go do these things. Motivation is like the tides. It comes and goes. It's going to rise and it's going to fall. There's going to be days where you don't want to do these things, but because of persistence, discipline, and consistency, you do it anyway, because that's what you are. You are disciplined. You're a man of high standards. You're a man of high worth. You're a man of high value. Being disciplined, consistent, and persistent is going to allow you to experience so much in your life. It's not even funny. Because I am so disciplined with everything, and it started at a very young age, I have the choice to do whatever the hell I want with my life. I choose everything in my life because I am 100% responsible for everything that happens in my life, as you are. When you start seeing life through the lens of responsibility, you have no option but to do everything to the best of your ability, because you are 100% responsible for your entire life. All of your results, all of your interactions, your feelings, your behaviors, your just direction, everything comes down to that. So if you don't have discipline, you don't have that willpower, that muscle ready to be able to flex, to stop from going and binging on food, to stop from going out and having loads of unprotected sex with a bunch of different women, from chasing different girls, from shiny object syndrome, scrolling on TikTok and socials, watching Netflix copious amounts, playing video games, all these things that are sucking your soul out of you and stopping and robbing you from reaching your potential. If you don't have that, you're going to be stuck into a life of mediocrity. And I know for myself, because I've been there, mediocrity sucks. It is so far beneath what you are worth. It is so far beneath what I am worth. So go create amazing things. Let's start with a bit of a story for where I started with my discipline, with my persistence. I've always been obsessed with martial arts. When I was a young fella, I used to run around and hit and kick all the trees and the poles and everything, trying to be like the Power Rangers. I've been obsessed with Superman since I was 2 years old. I love the Power Rangers, specifically Tommy, RIP. And I would just do everything to try and emulate those characters that I saw on the screen. I wanted to be a martial artist more than I wanted to breathe. That was it for me. And so my parents enrolled me into a few different schools of martial arts, and I found my way into International Taekwondo. I became the youngest black belt in that federation, which doesn't say much because it was a non-contact sparring martial art that didn't have tournaments or competitions or anything like that. But basically it was patterns. That's what it came down to. We did demonstrations and board breaking and stuff like that, but who gives a shit really? It's ineffective. But still, I mastered that in about 2.5 years. I was the golden child of that martial art. I would go around to demonstrations and recruit kids left, right, and center because I was the pinnacle of the standards because I was so disciplined. I wanted to be a black belt more than anything else. That's all I gave a shit about. And I got to that point where I was just so damn good. And I'm not saying this from like an egoic, cocky perspective. I know what I know because I remember what I went through. I remember my black belt grading. The training that I went through to be able to get up to that standard because I was so young, it really hadn't been done before. I remember the board breaks that I had to do were what the adults had to do. The sparring I had to do wasn't against kids. It wasn't against any of the blue belts or the brown belts or anything like that. It was with the adults. I had to spar multiple black belts, adult black belts, and I did my best. And because my technique was so crisp, because I was damn near neurotic about the way that I did everything, I executed to the best of my ability to perfection, even though perfection is impossible. I just aimed for that standard, always. I'm going to put up a photo here with the biggest, cheesiest grin of my little 12-year-old face with my black belt grading. Master Chung Chul Ri on the left, and Les Hicks standing in the background, and then myself. The pride that I felt from meeting the standard, from doing all the things that the adults had to do for their black belt grading, to say that I am good enough, look at me, look at all the things that I am capable of. It was amazing. I was so damn disciplined. I trained every afternoon. I practiced my pattern every afternoon. I did everything to the best of my ability. When it came to playing soccer, after I finished doing Taekwondo, I was exactly the same. I was neurotic. I wanted to make sure that I could refine everything, that I could do everything to the best of my ability. When it came to doing kickboxing later as a teenager, I did Muay Thai down in Nerang at a gym, and I wasn't very good at it, and I was very intimidated, especially when it came to sparring, coming from Taekwondo, no contact sparring, to Muay Thai. Yes, it was, going like 40%, but still getting punched in the face was a big wake-up call. I still gave it my best. I still invested so much time, effort, and energy into that thing. I was disciplined and dedicated to the pursuit. Then from there, I went into bodybuilding. I learnt everything I could about bodybuilding. I dedicated my life. I was consistent. I was persistent. I did a bodybuilding show in 2010 as a little natty 21-year-old. I'll put up some photos here for those that are listening if you want to jump on YouTube and have a look. But I was a skinny little runt. I was shredded. I was a skinny little runt though. I was so dedicated, disciplined, and persistent with my efforts because there was no other way. That was it for me. I was dedicating my life to this pursuit, and then once I did it and I got as close to mastery as possible, or as I felt with my abilities, with my genetics, I moved on to the next thing. After I did bodybuilding, I was a store manager, like I've told you guys about. I was disciplined with that. I was dedicated. I was persistent. I lived for my store. I lived for everything. Then I moved on to personal training. Same thing with that. Dedicated, disciplined, persistent with it. I knew it wasn't going to be easy to open my own business, but I was persistent with it. I kept going every single day, regardless. I learned as much as I could. And now, all the way fast forward to here, I've gone and done tens of thousands of dollars of personal development, hundreds of hours, different like coaching and therapy and counseling and all these different things because I'm so fascinated with self-awareness and self-mastery. This is all I can do, is the pursuit and the persistent path of self-mastery. And I'm so thankful that I came across this book in 2016 by my business mentor, who said, you need to read this book, it's going to change your life. It's just realigned everything and brought it into such clarity inside of my mind that everything that I do comes down to the philosophies inside of this book. Dedication, discipline, persistence, and consistency will be your backbone when you fall. There's an amazing special forces saying, and it's, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to your level of training. So many people, so many men out there overestimate their abilities, especially when it comes to getting into physical confrontation. You don't know my mentality. I just see red and body start dropping. That old meme that's around. You overestimate your abilities. But have you ever trained a day in your life? Probably not. You might have gotten into a few bar brawls and things like that, or wrestled with your friends. But when the chips come down, do you really think that you can defend yourself? Do you really think that you can look after yourself and keep yourself safe? Be able to take on a bigger opponent? Be able to defend other people that are getting bullied and picked on, or, potentially assaulted? Because, man, the amount of martial arts that I've done, the amount of confrontation that I've been in, you don't rise to the fucking occasion. If you're untrained, you're going to be ineffective, is the word that comes to mind. Even me, like I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a little over 2 years now, and even though a blue belt is meant to be someone who can handle themselves against an untrained attacker, I don't know. I still feel like that I need to do a hell of a lot more work to feel confident in my ability. That's why I train, between 5 and 9 times a week jiu-jitsu. I have to do it because the good thing with jiu-jitsu is you can't master it like taekwondo. You can't. The only person that has ever exceeded the expectations of a black belt in like 8 years is BJ Penn. He got his in like 3 years. He's an absolute freak of nature. He was also training like 5 times a day. Discipline, persistence, consistency is an attitude that you need to employ with every area of your life, specifically with health and fitness. If you have disease, illness, injury, you're obese, you've got things going on and your results are sucking, it's because you're undisciplined. It's because you're not persistent. It's because you have no consistency in your life. Or at least the consistency that you have in your life is with bad habits and behaviors. So if you're already going through consistency and persistence with bad behaviors, it's just as easy to flip it into good behaviors. You're already consistent. You're already doing that behavior. Just aim up instead of aiming down. Let's dive into the book. Chapter 9, Persistence, the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Like I said before, this book here, the opening chapter in the introduction says truly thoughts are things. Couple that with desire, faith, autosuggestion, the power of decision, the mastermind philosophy, sex transmutation. God, I can't wait to do a couple of videos and podcasts on sex transmutation. That magic is just, it's amazing. And then couple that with persistence, you are an unstoppable force. You have no out except to continue moving forward. Yes, you're going to face obstacles. Yes, you're going to face objections and roadblocks, and life is going to throw curveballs at you. God knows I'm going through one at the moment. But when you're persistent and you know where you're headed, you're unstoppable. Absolutely fucking unstoppable. The basis of persistence is the power of will, like I said. Willpower and desire, when properly combined, make an irresistible pair. Men who accumulate great fortunes are generally known as cold-blooded and sometimes ruthless. Often they are misunderstood. What they have is willpower, which they mix with persistence and place back of their desires to ensure the attainment of their objectives. The starting point of all achievement is desire. Keep this constantly in mind. Weak desires bring weak results. Just a small amount of fire makes a small amount of heat. If you find yourself lacking persistence, this weakness may be remedied by building a stronger fire under your desires. So what does that actually mean? If you have a small amount of heat and a small amount of desire, what do you think your results are going to be? You haven't lit a big enough fire under your ass to make things happen. You don't have a big enough desire that is calling you forward and bringing out the absolute best of your potential. Like I've said a million times, your potential is limitless. You can do, be, have, and experience anything that you want in your life. All you have to do is have the desire, faith, and persistence to go and create it. So many men lack the ability to even have desire in this world because they've been beaten down so many times and they haven't remedied it. They haven't overcome it by facing it. There's an amazing saying by Carl Jung. That which you seek the most is where you least want to look. So if you want to go out into the world and have a great experience, have a great life, build fortunes, have a great business, have a great romance, and have kids and all these different things, you are holding yourself back by not looking into your shadow, not looking into the things that are holding you back. By not doing counseling, not doing therapy and coaching and seeking out the betterment, improvement, and transformation of your life, you are holding yourself back and you're doing yourself and your future version of yourself a fucking disservice. You need to get out of your own way. You need to light a fire underneath your ass so that you can do, be, have, and experience anything that you're capable of doing. Get out of your own way. Back to the book. Sometimes it appears that there is a hidden guide whose duty is to test men through all sorts of discouraging experiences. Those who pick themselves up after defeat and keep on trying arrive. And then the world cries, "Bravo, I knew you could do it." The hidden guide lets no one enjoy great achievement without passing the persistence test. Those who can't take it simply do not make the grade. Those who can take it are bountifully rewarded for their persistence. They receive as their compensation whatever goal they are pursuing. That is not all. They receive something infinitely more important than material compensation. The knowledge that every failure brings with it the seed of equivalent advantage. There's an amazing philosophy and principle called failing forward. Every time you fail, you're still moving forward. Yeah, you might have gone back 2 steps or you might have been knocked down to rock bottom, but that failure brings with it a litany of resources, lessons, and improvements that you can make next time. Don't stop. Do not settle for less than what you're worth. Do not sit back and accept that which is undesirable, that which is painful, that which causes trauma. Do not settle for anything less than your worth. Definitely don't settle for domestic violence. Do not settle for any kind of abuse. If you're in that situation like I was back in 2014, get out, get help, and figure out what your resources are so you can be resourceful. Get out of any undesirable situation. You have the control, you have the ability, the responsibility to do anything that you want in your life. This part here is absolutely amazing. Persistence is a state of mind, therefore it can be cultivated. Like all states of mind, persistence is based upon definite causes, among them these. A definiteness of purpose. Knowing what one wants is the first and perhaps the most important step towards the development of persistence. A strong motive forces one to surmount many difficulties. B. Desire. It is comparatively easy to acquire and maintain persistence in pursuing that object in the intense desire. Self-reliance. Belief in one's ability to carry out a plan encourages one to follow the plan through with persistence. Self-reliance can be developed through the principle described in a chapter on autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is essentially self-hypnosis and self-suggestion. Definiteness of plans. Organized plans, even though they may be weak and entirely impractical, encourage persistence. When it comes to nutrition, one of the biggest things that I tell people is stick to something that you can stick to. We'll tweak it later, but if you're all over the shop and you're inconsistent with your food and you're not persistent with trying something over and over and doing your best, you're shooting yourself in the foot and you're going to leave results on the table. Accurate knowledge. Knowing that one's plans are sound based upon experience or observation encourages persistence. Guessing instead of knowing destroys persistence. Stop guessing. Remember what happens when you assume. You make an ass out of you and me. Cooperation. Sympathy, understanding, and harmonious cooperation with others tend to develop persistence. There's one thing that I'm learning is a great ADHD hack. If you have other people relying on you, you will move hell and high water to not disappoint that person. It's one of the greatest hacks that I've learned being undiagnosed ADHD. Willpower, the habit of concentrating one's thoughts upon building of plans for the attainment of definite purpose leads to persistence. That's that willpower we were talking about before. And habit. Persistence is the direct result of habit. The mind absorbs and becomes part of the daily experiences upon which it feeds. Fear, the worst of all enemies, can be effectively cured by forced repetition of acts of courage. That part there is highlighted in italics. Fear, the worst of all enemies, can be effectively cured by forced repetition of acts of courage. Everyone who has seen active service in war knows this. What that there means is essentially exposure therapy. One of the greatest things to get people over phobias and over traumas is to be able to create small exposure that gradually increases voluntarily over time with courage applied, not being afraid. It's by being brave, by being courageous, by having strength and showing vulnerability to move yourself one step at a time. You create progressive overload with your exposure therapy to be able to make you more courageous and brave as you're moving forward through life. One thing that I used to be terrified as a personal trainer was talking to people. That's one of the weirdest things. It's not really that weird when it comes to understanding the fear of confrontation, the fear of rejection, especially as a teenager that I faced. But that's one thing that I had to go through when I was starting my personal training business. I had to talk to people to get clients. It's something that I still have to make sure that I am brave and courageous enough to go talk to people. And even now, even though I'm pretty extroverted and I love talking to people, there's still a part of me that's like my old child self, like as a part of my shadow, that I have to bring forth with me and go, hey, look, we're okay now. You know, we're 33 years old. These people aren't going to reject you. The worst that they can say is no. All you have to do is say, hey, no worries, all good. Seeing as we're at 22 minutes in, and I've gone on a bit of a tangent in this because if you can't tell, I'm quite fucking passionate about this, especially this book here. We're going to leave the rest of this chapter for part 2 of persistence, part 2 of consistency. The next thing that we're going to cover in the next podcast episode is symptoms of lack of persistence. This one here, you'll probably see a lot of behaviors and habits inside of your own life. So make sure you stick around for the next episode that comes out and take notes because, like I say in every intro of this podcast, make sure when you hear my voice, you're ready to take notes and start taking massive action into your life. Persistence, discipline, and consistency are the things that are going to help you on your journey of self-mastery, on your journey to create better results, better standards to create even better results. That is all you have to do. Consistency, discipline, willpower, and persistence. With those there, you can do anything. You can do absolutely anything. So get out of your own way, create some discipline, consistency, and persistence, and fuck motivation because motivation comes and goes. Become disciplined. Set your sights high, set your standards even higher, and create an amazing life through your results. Thank you for being here today. Much love, and make sure you're back for the next episode with Consistency Part 2. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for subscribing and leaving a review. It really helps us out. Until next time, take care and much love.